Welcome to the 97 Republic YouTube channel, where I react to UFC news and live events. So I kindly ask that you hit the like button and the subscribe button, as that will really help this channel grow. And to ensure that you don't skip a beat, feel free to click the notification bell. That way you can guarantee that you don't miss any of the action. I really hope you enjoy this. Reacting to UFC Fight Night Vettori versus Dolidze, where Roman Dolidze was able to exact his revenge and get his win over Marvin Vettori after losing in their first fight. Roman was able to bounce back and get the victory over Marvin Vettori. Now, even though I predicted Vettori to win, felt like the decision at the end was a fair reflection of how the fight played out. Now, 49-46 feels a bit rough. I had Marvin winning rounds 1 and 3, and potentially Marvin could have ended up winning round 5. The only reason why I don't think he won round 5, Roman wore a lot of damage on his face in round 5, but his volume and surpassing Marvin with regards to significant strikes in that fight felt like it was enough to warrant Roman the victory over Marvin Vettori. And heading into this fight night, felt like I was excited, because even though there were a lot of fighters, especially pertaining to the main card, that had a lot of losses on their record, felt like usually when you have fighters that have a lot of losses, the fights tend to be more exciting due to the fact that they just don't feel as tense when they go into the octagon. It feels like, now obviously they have something to lose, but feels like the general consensus would be that they fight like they don't have anything to lose. It just makes for better viewing. They put everything out there, and they don't carry this chip on their shoulder where either they're undefeated or they have one loss and should nurture and ensure that it only remains one. They just go out and they put on a show, and this card was a testament to that. When we started in the prelims, and the very first 2 fights on this card was in the women's division, both ending by a knockout, which was insane. Carly Jadiz getting her knockout when it was great viewing, and then we just saw stoppage after stoppage after stoppage. We had a decision mixed in here and there, but it just continued with stoppage. We saw Carlos Vera getting the knockdown over his opponent and then being able to submit Musasa. It was just a good prelim card. Ryan Spann in the main event of the prelims, fighting against Cortez Acosta. And if you're a Ryan Spann fan, tough viewing. Well, it was tough viewing. There was a time where Ryan Spann was a devastating figure inside the UFC, especially when he was at light heavyweight. The man had incredible knockouts to his name, and Ryan Superman Spann was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing, but seeing him tonight just looked like he lacked confidence, looked like his timing wasn't good. And give credit to Waldo, the guy capitalized, and via hellacious ground and pound was able to end the fight against Ryan Spann. But top viewing. Felt like I got hit in the nostalgia and not in the right way. But then moving on to the main card, where with regards to my predictions, I went 3 and 3, and don't really have resentment towards any particular prediction I made apart from the Nurgozhay fight. So start off the main card in the featherweight division with Kevin Vallejos making his debut against Choi. Now I don't want to blow my own horn here, but I somewhat predicted this to a T, due to the fact that Kevin Vallejos is a really good boxer, has really good footwork, has really good head movement, has a high guard, so he's not in any real danger throughout the entirety of the fight. And saw that whenever Choi enters that range, usually what they call the pocket or the void, that short range, he is susceptible to getting hit. And we just saw Kevin Vallejos constantly pressuring him, moving forward up until the point where Choi had to meet him. And when that happened, we saw Vallejos get the knockout victory in the first round. So I felt good about myself, but then you know how it goes. Whenever you feel a little bit high, life just stomps on you and somewhat brings you back to reality. Because in the second fight, now the reason I regret this prediction is obviously hindsight, but Nurgozhay in his performance on Dana White's Contender Series, even though the knockout was spectacular, up to that point, it didn't really felt like he controlled the fight. Didn't really felt like it was that impressive of a showing. And I mean, yeah, the knockout was good, but he's not a volume striker, and he's not super technical either. But it did feel like he would have the advantage against Brenson Ribeiro, where Brenson is very aggressive. He is a volume striker, so I thought that might be a problem for Nurgozhay, but I thought that Brenson would probably be over aggressive, especially with Nurgozhay being, or rather making his debut inside the UFC. I thought Brenson Ribeiro would be too aggressive, trying to force something and then basically get caught on the counter. Didn't happen. It didn't happen. We saw Ribeiro not only submit Nurgozhay, we saw him dominate the fight when it was taking place on the feet, with him knocking down Nurgozhay in the first round. So, that pick was horrible. But it happens. Yeah, it happens. And then moving on to the next fight, we saw the Blackshear versus Cody Gibson, and I felt like this could potentially be the fight of the night, just due to the fact that how they matched up against one another, where both of them have good wrestling, where the Blackshear's wrestling is just a little bit more unconventional, but he is a good wrestler. Both of them have really good jiu-jitsu, so I thought that the majority of the fight will see something of everything, but predominantly the fight will take place on the feet. And in the first round, so I predicted Cody Gibson to win, just due to the fact that I felt like he was too resilient. I felt like he would constantly move forward, put the Blackshear, under pressure, have the Blackshear do reckless and unnecessary things, and thought that the Blackshear, one of his weaknesses, that kind of is the same as Song Choi's, is when we saw the Blackshear enter that void, he tended to get hit a lot. And I thought that Cody would capitalize on that. And in the first round, I felt justified. Felt justified in my prediction, because Cody Gibson started off perfectly, had a great game plan, and executed it perfectly. Basically, just constantly pressuring the Mon and fighting on the front foot constantly. Had the Mon up against the fence, where he threw a lot of punches, mixed it up, went to the body, went to the head. So I felt like, once again, especially with Cody being a big underdog, felt like, yeah, I saw it. I saw this coming. And in the second round, what was odd was seeing that, I don't blame Cody Gibson for actually initiating and grappling, but he had such a big advantage in the fight. I'm not saying in general, but in the fight, when both of them was busy striking, felt like Cody had a considerable advantage, especially with the pressure that he put on the Blackshear. So if I was in his corner, I'd basically just tell him to continue with that, just move forward, have the backpedal all the way up to the fence, and just tee off on him the same he did in the first round. Now, even though the started circling way better, still felt like Cody could have ended up winning that round, but then he went for a takedown. The did the old switcheroo, ended up on top, and then ended up submitting Cody via Kimura. So we had Brenson Ribeiro submitting Nurgozhay via Kimura, something you don't really see often. And then we saw in the next fight it happened again. So maybe it was just destiny that I should have had a few wrong picks on this card. And then we moved on to Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh. Once again, predicted it to a T, due to the fact that even though Alex Hernandez is a good striker, very technical striker at that, or rather didn't see him wanting to fight a stand-up fight versus Holobaugh, because you could be more technical, you could be the better striker, but if a man is as durable as Holobaugh, just constantly pressing forward, then you're gonna be in trouble. Your technicality gets thrown out of the window, and we've seen this happen a lot of times. Even with the Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, the first fight, we just saw Nate constantly pressure Conor, because it's difficult to fight off your back foot, especially if you are not used to doing that. If it's not an actual part of how you strike, it's not preferable to fight that way. Now Izzy fights really good off of his back foot, but he's one of very few fighters that actually flourish when they're on the back foot. Most strikers prefer fighting on the front foot. And in the first round, we saw Alexander get, I'd say, somewhat of the benefit of the striking exchanges, but then we just saw Holobaugh moving forward, constantly putting on pressure and constantly pressuring Alexander Hernandez, just ate a few to give a few. And I was impressed with Alex Hernandez's chin. I thought that a few of those punches could have put him out, and it didn't. So I'm impressed with Alexander's performance, but I basically predicted that Alex would then revert to wrestling and then basically just win via unanimous decision, due to the fact that he won't be able to knock out Holobaugh, due to the fact that Holobaugh does have suspicious wrestling defense. Felt like that would be a downfall for him in this fight, not being able to defend the takedowns, getting taken down, and then just basically getting held to the ground and then losing the fight via unanimous decision. And then that basically came to fruition with Alexander Hernandez in the second round, in the third round, taking down Holobaugh and just basically just squeezing, I kind of say, the life out of the fight and winning by unanimous decision. And then in the co-main event with Njokuani versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, I predicted Shadi would win this fight. Didn't think it would be a knockout though. Thought that he would win via unanimous decision, because due to the fact that I felt like Shadi would be able to clinch Elizeu constantly and basically win the same way that he's won his previous two fights, which is basically dominating the clinch, pushing Elizeu against the fence and keeping him there, having good strikes in the clinch, and just grinding out a unanimous decision victory, because it felt like that would be the safest place for him in that fight. And then we saw him get the knockout victory, and it was an impressive performance. Honestly, felt like he could have received the performance of the night bonus, even though he didn't. I think the UFC should probably do something about the performance of the night bonuses, and we'll probably go into that in a further video. But predicted Shadi would win, and when he did, I felt good. I was 3-2, and I felt like Marvin would definitely go on to win, beat Roman, and then I'd be 4-2, and I would have been fine with that. But then in the main event, Marvin Vettori taking on Roman Dolidze in their second fight in the rematch. The reason I picked Marvin is due to the fact that he has more experience, has fought really tough opponents within his UFC career. I mean, he's fought Jared Cannonier, he's fought Rob Whittaker, he has fought Izzy twice, so he has good experience within the UFC. Not only that, due to him being the volume puncher and being as durable as he is, where you would need a sledgehammer to knock out Marvin Vettori, I felt like his volume would be better than Roman Dolidze's power, because power against a chin like that is basically just, it's just a lack of volume. That's all it actually is, because you're not knocking out Marvin Vettori unless you have a sledgehammer, or you're not knocking him out any other way. So that's how I saw the fight playing out. I saw Roman would probably have a few rounds where he dominates, but due to Marvin's volume, due to his experience, due to the fact that it felt like he's better conditioned, has better stamina, has seen more 5-round fights, just thought he would win. And then we saw Roman do his thing, where, once again, as I previously mentioned, 100% justified that Roman Dolidze won this fight. Felt like he deserved to win this fight. Didn't feel like it was a 49-46, rather just felt like it was a 48-47 unanimously. Felt like it was a 48-47 unanimously, but felt like Roman did enough. and he had Marvin hurt. Marvin had him hurt in the 3rd round. He wore a lot of damage, but in the 5th round, he was very efficient with his strikes. As I previously mentioned, surpassed Marvin with regards to total amount of significant strikes in that fight. Landed that knee in the 5th round that cut Marvin open. So, all in all, fair result. All in all, good card, exciting card, with a lot of highlights, with a lot of stoppages, which is basically what every fan asks for. And yeah, I'd say vindicated. I'd say this fight and this fight card felt vindicated in the sense that you could have been excited to view it, excited to see it. So that's just my reaction for UFC Fight Night, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. Let me know, which performance do you think was warranted performance of the night? Or which fight did you feel like was fight of the night? Let me know in the comment section. I would really appreciate that. And enjoy your Sunday.